Warning: this podcast may contain spoilers as well as coarse language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello everyone, just kidding, Tootaroo! Welcome to a very special episode of the R Anime Podcast. This is Violet Everweekly, a new series on the channel discussing the newest episode of Violet Evergarden, the biggest and most hyped anime of the season. I'm Lux, otherwise known as Mozilla Fennekin, and I've got the seasonal crew with me once again. Here's Sha.
Hey guys, what's up?
And up way too late to record this, we have Kaverick.
Hello, it's 2 a.m. for me and I got to work tomorrow, so yeah, here's that.
Really doing it live.
Yep. And our first guest for this series, a very prolific member of the subreddit, Dr. J. Wilson.
Hello, what's up?
Hey, I'm glad to have you on. Whatever. If you want to be on the series, there's a link to the sign up in the description, or if not, I don't know if Becker is going to edit this or not. If it's not there, you can look for the thread on the subreddit for this episode, or you can just PM me, Mozilla_Fennekin on Reddit, and I'll help you out, or find me on Discord, wherever. This is a different sign up from what we normally use for the podcast, so you do need to fill this out even if you have filled out the other one. And we're going to try, I don't know how many people will actually be able to get on this thing, but we do definitely want to bring in more people from the subreddit on this series. So we really encourage you to sign up, get on there. We don't normally have a lot of opportunities on our actual episodes to do that, so that's kind of why we're doing a new series. We want to have more consistent releases and get more people featured on this podcast. So, and if this goes well, we may consider doing this again for a different show in another season. Like, we've got Steins Gate Zero coming up, and I can totally do a weekly podcast for that.
True.
Oh yeah. But for now, this is just a new thing. It's an experimental thing for us. We're just, trying something new, seeing how this goes. If you have any other comments or questions, leave a comment somewhere. Find me again on Reddit or Discord, and we'll go from there. And I think that's about it for introductions. So, enough about me. Let's get on with the show. Let's talk about the first episode of Violet Evergarden. What did you think of it, Mr. Wilson?
I actually just watched it. It's been like 5 minutes, so I'm still processing a little bit. So when I first heard of the series, I saw the trailer like everyone else did, and then I just like completely zeroed out and like did not want to know anything else about it. So I was a little unsure about what I was gonna get, when I finally watched it. I'm like, it's like good, but like it's still very much in the starting stages. So I don't know if like there's really a lot to. Like, I was on the subreddit, and, like, people are really, really polarizing about this show. Have you seen that? Like, everyone either, like, hates or loves it. It's so crazy.
Yeah, that's like the double-edged sword with this show, because this has been insanely hyped. Like, we got the first trailer for this, like, almost 2 years ago now, if you can believe that. And, when that trailer came out, everyone was like, oh my god, this is going to be the best show ever. So...
And I think they premiered the first 2 episodes at Anime Expo, which is in LA, and it was this summer. So I know people who went and saw the first 2 episodes there, and that's how it got so high on like the Mal Top 100 list, is because like it technically was released, and then they have like, and people scored it so high, so now everyone's on guard. They're like, who put this non-Gintama anime on my top Gintama list? So everyone was on guard, and like now it finally came out. And I feel like a lot of the reactions are actually kind of just the sexual tension between the KyoAni haters and circle jerkers meeting head to head, because it feels like a lot of this is kind of just like the culmination of KyoAni worshipping and kind of like the reaction to all the KyoAni worshipping. So I do feel it's like, I'm with you on this, like, we've gotten 1 episode. There's not enough to really be like amazed by, and not enough to really hate it. Like, I thought it was a pretty good episode, and I feel very weird in having a moderate opinion on it. Like, I don't think it's the best first episode I've seen, and it's not the worst.
Exactly. That's exactly where I'm like, where am I on it?
Yeah, I'm also kind of on this. Like, I would love to see this in an alternate world line where it didn't get so much hype. Because I think if this just came out, and it didn't have such a huge promotion for it, I think it would be like, people would be like, okay, cool, new KyoAni show. It's the new KyoAni show. You kind of know what to expect from them. And, I'm kind of on the same boat with you two. Like, it's a good first episode. I do like this a lot. It's not my favorite of the season so far, but it's like in the 8 out of 10 range for me.
That's pretty high.
Yeah.
It was kind of okay for me. Yeah, I agree that the shitstorm surrounding the episode was hard to witness, hard to bear. Yeah, so many haters, so many lovers, and they, for the life of them, cannot understand each other. And what even worse is it's perfect feeding ground for trolls. So I have seen so many people just baiting other people into throwing shit into each other. It's unbearable, really.
Yeah.
Like, the whole conversation is just so toxic and hard to participate even. Like, you cannot criticize things because you're not understood, and it's hard to just say good things because you immediately are greeted with a toxic reply. Yeah, I'm also having a moderate opinion on it. I know many people dislike the visual part of the anime, like filters, lighting, and stuff. What do you think about it?
Well, I think we've come like full circle on it, right? Because they came out with the trailer 2 years ago, and everyone was like shitting themselves over how gorgeous it looked, and they were like, "Wow, this like movie quality visuals are going to be used for a TV series. This is unheard of. This will be groundbreaking." And then like we've got like 2 years later, I think everyone is like seeing the visuals, and they're just kind of like tired of only hearing about the visuals. Because as the doc over here said, that I'm with him, like I tuned out like most of the hype, so I had no idea what the series was going to be about until it just came out. So I had no idea what the premise was until I watched it. But I think it's kind of says something when the hype is around the visual production and not the story itself, which is something that's different from a lot of other hype shows that we hear about. Like, you think of all the manga that gets released that's hyped, people always talk about the content, not the visual quality. And I think that kind of like untouchableness that I think Kyoto Animation has when it comes to their visual production has kind of come full circle to the point where the first episode released and I thought it looked really good. And then, but I think people are so tired of being kind of like forced to feel like it's really good and untouchable that they find like, oh, I don't like the filters. I find that doesn't look good. It would have looked better with this. And I do think they're being a bit more critical towards the visuals than they would be for any other series. Like half deservingly, half not so deservingly so.
Yeah, I agree with you here.
Yeah, it is hard to say because there was like there is a lot of post-production in this show. There's tons of lighting, tons of filters. There was like there was one like side-by-side shot that was released where it's like the very first shot of the show actually, where it's Violet walking through this town and there's all these people walking around, and then you get like that's the before, and then the after is in the show where it's like all the people in the back, even though they're actually like pretty detailed and animated well, they're all covered by lighting and stuff, and a lot of people were just like, wait, hang on. Yeah, so there's like so much of all this post-production in this show that some people are kind of turned off by it. I don't know how many people are like just avid KyoAni haters, or just, I don't know. This is something that's like so big and popular that it's become cool to hate, so who knows.
And I do have to say, I think you could argue that the filters are being used as kind of like a artistic choice to kind of show the emotional state. And I don't know if the filters will be in every episode. It might, like, I don't know. I do think that there could be like a purpose for it. And I do think I can see why it's detrimental, but I do think you could say it's like the emotional state of this episode kind of could justify it. But that's for later down the podcast.
I definitely think that that because most shows they go all out on like the first couple episodes and it kind of like gets toned down over time. I think that's what's going to happen here, and I think people are going to like the visuals more and more as the series progresses. as KyoAni, kind of like, you know, they're not gonna do like this like extravagant like lighting and like blurring system every episode, you know. I don't think, I guess.
Yeah, I will say about that. I feel like the main problem of the Violet Evergarden here is that it came out in the wrong time. Because everyone was already kind of critical when it comes to filters in a Silent Voice, the previous big anime of Kyoto Animation. And before that, there was Hibiki Euphonium, which was also kind of hard on filters. So, no wonder that people who disliked the heavy usage of filters were flipping their tables in frustration, uh, just screaming, "Holy shit, you're giving me this shit again! Why?" Yeah, so that's what happened.
It's kind of become like the shaft, like the equivalent of like the shaft head tilt, like if it's
Yeah.
like using filters. And I mean, like in both studios' defenses, like if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like a lot of people have been loving the filters and they've been pretty successful. So I mean, they don't really have a reason to change it besides the like angry redditors over here.
I mean, I think it looks gorgeous. Like like some people like you know, they showed that shot that Lux was talking about where you know, like one of it is without the lighting and one is with, and some people prefer the one without. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It just looks so bland and like flat.
Yeah, there's like nothing actually interesting in that shot. It's just the fact that they just decided to detail it the way they did. And I actually kind of commend the show for this. I think it's actually pretty impressive that even though they have all this post-production, they're not like trying to cover up anything that's like bad. They're not cutting corners with this.
Yeah, it's an artistic decision for sure. It's not them skimping out on anything.
Yeah. And I do agree with Wilson. This is a gorgeous show. Like I actually wrote down, I want to watch this in a theater. This was like almost movie quality for me.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think, and that's I think it's interesting that people are like so down to criticize it when it seems like the one thing that like wouldn't really be criticized would be the visual quality. But I do think that's just like the kind of environment it's being released in. Like people kind of either want to love it or want to hate it. But I just hope that they'll give it a fair shot to, you know, mess up or succeed on its own, you know, regardless of the studio, regardless of what else is airing, like just kind of like let it be for a bit.
Yeah. One thing about the visuals though that I will criticize, and I'm actually kind of surprised I haven't seen this one so much. I've heard this a little bit actually for their other shows like Hibike Euphonium. Like Digibro complained about like Hibike. He said that because that show is so beautiful that like all the scenes are lit so dramatically, it kind of means it makes the scenes look a little more important than they actually are. Now, I mean, I'm not going to say that. I personally disagree with that, but it did kind of introduce me to the concept of like maybe there is such a thing as too pretty. And Violet Evergarden for me does kind of step in that territory at least a little bit, particularly with the flashback scenes in the war. This is actually, maybe it's more like a character design thing, but like my problem here is that like this is supposed to be a pretty dark and heavy scene, and like my problem is that Violet looks so perfect in every scene. Like she wouldn't look like this in this actual situation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of my problem.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think it ties kind of neatly with the next issue, not issue, problem, not problem, I don't know, feature of the anime, I guess, of the story. More of a writing idea of Violet herself, a character. Because many people, myself included, think that she's too beautiful, too perfect, and even one episode in, many people claimed her to be a rather waifu baity character. What do you think about it?
I don't think I agree with that. But that is a good transition to like talking about the actual character of Violet Evergarden, because I like her a lot just as a character. I think a lot of people have like I think the top comment of the subreddit is a PTSD saber.
Yeah, yeah. I can see both sides on it, and I think I think they've definitely committed to the whole like very soldier like tool kind of, not, she's not a tool, but like she's was raised to be like a tool of the military. Like I think they very much committed to that, but I do think that could also be seen as like a waifu bait kind of quality. But it could also be seen as a waifu thing because of the visuals and because she does look so pretty all the time. But I do agree with what you said earlier, Maz, where I feel like the art style should have been different in the flashback to show the different emotional tone. But I'm hoping that they change that for the current storyline they're telling. But I do think so far that, which is kind of like, I think people had like very high expectations for the characters in the first episode, but I haven't really gotten a strong impression of the characters in the first episode. Like in a good and like not as a diss, but not as a compliment either. Like they were just kind of there, and I think they have potential to be explored later on and become more interesting. But as of now, I can see Violet having potential, but she hasn't really reached it yet. So I do see why people would call her a waifu bait kind of character.
Yeah, I'm actually like, I'm sorry for like saying I disagree. I actually do like understand what Cav was meaning by that.
No, it's
But I know what you
fine.
mean.
But I think that like it's just too early, you know, to call her just waifu bait, you know, because okay, at the same time I do understand, and they do go out of their way to like make her look cute. Like she's adorable throughout there's this one scene where she's like munching on a teddy bear. Like come on, you know. But I think it's a show where you really have to grow with them and like spend some time with them in order to see her as more than just like, you know, it's a very much introductory episode.
Yeah, I was actually had I didn't have a problem. Well, this is something like maybe a slight criticism or just something I want to see explored, you know, like a to-do list. I had less of a problem with Violet as a character and more so her role in the story of seemingly being the only female character to have been a soldier who was in combat. Now, they can expand on this in the future, but it was kind of weird when like my first impression of Violet was I thought she was kind of a robot or something because you see her like mechanical arms doing the typewriting in that trailer.
Yeah.
So then they call her like, oh, she's like a tool of the military or she's a tool of this major. And then we see in this episode, oh, she's not actually like, she just gets like, you know, these mechanical arms, but she's very much human. But they call her like this deadly soldier. And they showed in the flashback scene like her running in war and she's surrounded by all men. And I was wondering, like, what kind of society is this where it seems like she's the only female soldier in this like pre-modernized society? You know, that's something I want to see. Like, I want answers as to why like she's the exception to this seeming rule of only having male soldiers. But I think that's more of a world building thing. But if they don't answer like why she's so good at being a soldier or why she's such a badass, I will think it would be something like kind of a flaw in her character arc, you know? Like I want to know what her role is in this society.
I'm pretty sure it will be answered later on, and I can speculate here. Well, I never read the source. What is it? Light novel, I believe, right? Yeah, it's a light novel. Yeah, I just feel like she's just such a. She was raised as not raised. She was a gifted soldier. I don't know if I recall correctly. She didn't have parents, right? I think so.
I
don't
think
know.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
She mentions that when they bring her to the Evergarden house.
Yeah, and she was just raised like a soldier because she was so gifted, and as an exception, maybe some colonel or mayor saw that she has some potential in military, and because she had nowhere to go, they just got her into barracks and decided to train her. And because she was so broken, nowhere to go, they just gave this program of always following the orders or something like that. I would expect something like that. That's why she was the only woman in the military, and because she was lacking kind of human features like emotions and stuff. Um, she even had a place in military, her own place. Like no one even thought about her being in the wrong position here. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think about it. We'll see how it goes. I don't think that this society is that unusual as we have in the real world.
Yeah, I think it's just I'm not sure like if she would be an exception, and if so, what like made her an exception just besides her upbringing? Because no one seems to question her being in the military, but it still kind of feels very like traditional, pre-modernized society. So that's just something I want to see explored. And we got 12 more episodes, 13 more episodes, so like that's fine. But I just hope they do flush that out, because if they do make it just kind of like she's the single badass girl of the show, I'll feel like that's cool, but also kind of like a bit too waifu saberish. Like it will feel kind of like a saber situation.
Saberish.
But there was what was it? It was like there was like the woman who ran the whole like postal service, or the ghostwriting service, right?
Yeah.
I think she's going to be in here, hopefully. Her character design is beautiful. Everyone in this fucking show is gorgeous. Like,
this is like kind of salty of me. I think she looks gorgeous. I think like they all look gorgeous, and I like her character design. But I don't understand how this one character is like it working as like a professional ghostwriter and looks like a gypsy stripper. Like,
Yeah.
no problems with strippers. I don't have a problem with them. I think she looks great, but that's like some like casual going out clothes. That's not like you don't bring that shit to work.
Yeah, I thought she
Yeah.
looked like a like a pirate wench.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she's like battening
Really
down the
out of place.
hatches. And I'm like, I'm cool, like, like you can look really hot, but why are you doing this at work? This is kind of odd. Like everyone else is in like their button downs, like colonial wear, and you're like trying to like Pirates of the Caribbean it up in here. Like, what are we doing? But it looks good. So, I mean, at least there's that.
Hey, she's a pirate wench because Netflix didn't release this show everywhere, so everyone has to pirate it. It's a funny joke.
That's another thing. The poor, like, we can't even just have the show come out. We have the Netflix controversy of getting like cucked by them.
These fucking idiots.
yeah.
Thanks, Netflix.
Mhm.
Is it simulcasted everywhere but the US? Is that it?
Low key, yes.
Oh my god.
It may as well be, to be honest. Like, they put it out in Canada, but not the US.
Just ignore one of your biggest markets, why don't you? That's a good business decision.
You can't win them all, or in this case, like not at all.
The feeling is to give viewers a sense of pride and satisfaction from unlocking different... Okay. Yeah, I also wrote down, holy fuck, the receptionist is so hot. I don't... Back to, like, what I was saying about, like, putting details into, like, shit that doesn't matter. There were, like, 2 women that appeared for, like, 3 seconds, and they were just, like... They looked like they'd be the main characters of any other show. I just wanted to get that out there.
I mean,
because
that's
this was
KyoAni
very
syndrome,
important
right?
to me. It is that is a KyoAni thing, but it felt particularly extreme in this one.
Yeah, but it worked. They did good. So at least we know the main character isn't like the only beautiful one, because they have like everyone's pretty hot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, come get your KyoAni woman.
So yeah, there is one more thing I want to mention. Kind of a complaint of mine is the relationship between Violet and Major Gilbert is kind of interesting. She is devoted blindly to him and stuff. But what I disliked is how it was, how exposition worked out and how it was brought to the audience. With the phrase by the end of the episode where Violet confesses to Redhead Hodgins that she wants to know what "I love you" means. I can't say I like this scene because it was so corny and banal. Could they be a bit more subtle in it? because any other like feeling or any other way of conveying these feelings would be better than just saying it outright. I want to know what I love you means with dramatic music, which is kind of loud, by the way, and just yeah, it felt too dramatic with such grand phrases being thrown.
Yeah, Cav. Like you bring up two of the things that are my biggest problem with the show is that number one, it's really heavy-handed in its themes. Like I'm pretty sure they say the words like I was just a tool like 5 times, and then the whole like I don't know what love is. It's just so very obviously the kind of like, oh, this girl, they really want to force that she like was been in the military all her life and she doesn't know anything and she's very naive. And then secondly, the music is like awful. I thought like it was just completely like immersion breaking and too loud throughout the entire I felt like one, I was either listening to an orchestra just like in the front seat, or two, I was like in Pink Panther the movie. I like scenes where like nothing would happen, but they'd be playing this like really ominous dramatic music of like a trumpet jazzy solo in the background. Did you guys get that at all?
I think I like completely blocked out the soundtrack, so I'm gonna say it was bad because if I don't remember anything, but I do remember it being like overly dramatic, and I like low-key want to believe that the way like maybe the subs translations kind of sucked for that last one. But if she actually just said "I want to know what love is," then that's just like really cringy because you could phrase it in so many different ways. Like even just changing a word or two, like no, it's just really kind of cringy. I also feel kind of like a little kid, and I'm like, I know he definitely died, right? Like no one's gonna say it, but I just want someone to confirm he died. Like it's like my OCD, like confirm that the major died so I can move on and Violet can move on. But like, I know he died. Like just tell me he died.
If you're
no, go ahead.
Okay, well, I was going to go back to the music. I didn't actually notice the music too much. I kind of noticed the piano themes in the beginning, but I just wanted to bring up the composer for this anime is this guy, Evan Call, and he did the music for my favorite anime of all time, Big Order.
Okay.
Okay. There you go.
You did your research, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I just thought that was funny to bring up.
He has a huge pedigree, so I know what you mean.
But actually, I would say that my biggest complaint of this show so far kind of is that like, yeah, they're kind of dragging out this. I felt like they were really dragging out this whole thing of Violet being separated from the Major, who I feel like it's so obvious that he's dead that I'm just kind of waiting for him to come back alive. I just feel like it's way too obvious of this reveal, and if they actually do reveal that he's dead, I feel like it's going to be like so overly dramatic or something.
Yeah.
Like they took so long to bring it out. I mean, I'm kind of saying this as if it's like episode 9 at this point, but
I feel you. No, I felt so frustrated because like these are supposed to be military people, like this no nonsense, like you're a tool, you don't know what love is, you don't know how to do shit, but like your superior can't confirm or deny where the Major is. Like just spit it out. Like just tell me if he's dead or not, or just be like, yeah, he's alive. We're not talking about this. Like just confirm something. You're such a pussy. Like do it. It was so frustrating. It's not like intriguing. It's just frustrating. I just want to know. I want to know what love is and where the Major is.
At this point, I'm just hoping that I think the best situation for now would be that or the best outcome for now would be that Violet figures it out for herself. I hope that happens, and then she realizes, oh, like no one's telling me this because they don't want to like hurt me or something. Which, I mean, I know might be cringy to people, but I feel like that would be something at least.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah,
that would make sense thematically.
Yeah, I just want them to underplay the whole situation and do not make like the big drama out of it, because it was too obvious in the flashbacks that he was mortally wounded and he's not gonna make it alive.
Also, what I love, like as a small aside, I love how she loses both of her arms, but he's the one telling her to go and live your life. Like that's I'm pretty sure that's also mortal.
That was a pretty fucked up scene.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah, like he looked like kind of messed up, but she looked like significantly more injured. He's just like
right.
kind of dying against the wall, like go live your life. And she's like, "Yeah, I'll put you on my back. Let's go. Like I'm ready to like drag you out of this collapsing castle or whatever." So he was not game to continue and learn what love is. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was kind of like that was a pretty iffy like war scene when I think back on it. But that kind of leads into something I do want to give this show props because I feel like besides the visuals, it does feel like a very distinctly different Kyoto Animation show. Like they are doing a show that's like takes place in a different time period and setting than I think they have before. So it kind of feels like they're going outside their comfort zone, and I wanted to give them slight props for that.
Yeah.
And I think
That's
this
an interesting
is
take,
probably
yeah.
like the most bloody show that they've ever done. Like I mean, Kyokan no Kanata
Yeah.
had a lot of blood in that, but like
But that's like a blood sword. That's like a
yeah,
PG thing.
yeah, Violet got fucked up in that flashback. When I saw that, I'm like, wow, that's a KyoAni show.
Well, yeah, we'll see. So, yeah, I want to ask you. By the end of the episode, we learned that Violet joined after Memoir dolls, right? Like these typesetters who are writing letters instead of people who cannot physically write, I guess. So what are your expectations from next episodes? What kind of narratives the anime would take, and will it be episodic or more structured plot? What do you think?
Hmm. Yeah, it's tough to say. I think the novels was more the novel whatever was more about like it was more about her writing these letters. I don't know. It's interesting to see where this show is going to go. I'm actually personally kind of interested in the theme. I mean, I know you guys were kind of shitting on the theme of like the whole like I want to know what I love you means, which I mean I agree is kind of a mediocre line, but I still think it'd be kind of fun to like see Violet writing all these things for other people and kind of just learning things as a person. I'm just interested in that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know. I do actually kind of expect it to be episodic, because I think that's kind of how the novel is structured. Although this is Kyoto Animation. They take a lot of liberties with their source material.
Yeah.
I can definitely see it being like maybe like each letter is like an episode. Like it's centered around like that letter she has to write and like the story of that person who she's like trying to communicate for. I could see them doing that, or I could see the next episode being her learning how to type and having flashbacks, like a mini training arc on like typing things, and then giving flashbacks to the major. But I could see it going either way. But it would be interesting to see what happens.
So like at the end of the episode, she asks the the headmistress lady, like, why did you know to write "I love you" there? So I kind of think that maybe it's gonna go off of that, where she's gonna like get someone who wants to like clearly demonstrate an emotion, and she won't know what that emotion is or how to like relay it. So she has to learn about that throughout the episode, and then finally, send their message.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see what you're
Interesting.
saying.
Yeah, I'm not that interested in Violet's development, honestly, because to me it seems kind of straightforward so far. Like learning emotions, learning what love means, for God's sake, and moving on her life. Uh, yeah, it seems kind of standard to me. I mean, if they kind of change it, twist it, that would be cool, but I don't see it, to be honest. In any case, I'm more curious in these little mini stories in letters, because they could be ranging from sweet to dramatic to tragic to unexpected, and yeah, it could be interesting. Like these letters, how they could affect Violet, her word outlook, its stuff. It could be interesting.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I don't really have anything else to say. If you
I
guys.
have one very important thing to say, and it goes back to the music. Evan Call's Mal page has a picture of him with a snake around his shoulders, Britney Spears style. This is a must look
What?
at. We will link it. This is a must look at. It looks like straight out of MySpace, and this is the guy doing the music on like show of the year, big deal show. This guy.
All right, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I see it now.
This is a huge deal. This is a big order for him.
I'm tagging Becker on Discord. I'm posting this picture. Becker, please put this picture on the screen if you're editing this, or if
that is
editing this.
This is the most significant development of all of Violet Evergarden. Is this dude's Mal picture? Yeah, that was all. That's all I had to say. But I couldn't let that go unspoken.
Oh, good point. No, I agree.
All right. Yeah, I guess we've said everything we wanted to, right?
Yeah, everything I had in mind. I'm trying to think.
So right now it looks like maybe like kind of like a slice of life workplace kind of thing. You think it'll continue to be that way, or do you think they'll like call back to the war? Or I mean, they said it's over, but
I can't see the letters being about the war and being more flashbacks. We need the flashbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it just will be a kind of slice of life drama mix with just some letters exploring different situations. Like, there are many episodic shows around, and we can see that they have vastly different style and tone. So one might be sweet, one might be hard on your feelings. Yeah, we'll see.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, if that's about it, I think we are done. Thank you, everyone. Thank you guys for being on this episode, first of all, especially on a short notice. We just planned this in one day. And thanks, everyone, for listening. This was Violet Everweekly, episode 1. Please give your feedback about this. If you like it, more is going to be on the way. And again, maybe we'll do this another time for another season.
And thanks for joining us, Dr. J. Wilson.
Hey,
master of hot beats.
Yeah. Tune in next week for another episode. We'll see you later.
Adios.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.